Okay. Will we start? Yes. Should we start?
Yes.
Do we have any number of participants right now? You can listening us. How many of candidates joined for today's session? Not sure because I am not able to see on YouTube live. Are we sure? Are we able to have this stream live?
Yes.
Don't see any stream going on at the moment, at least. स्ट्रीम चालू है क्या? यूट्यूब पे तो नहीं आ रहा है अभी भी. आप देख पा रहे हो यूट्यूब पे?
Yes.
Okay, great. As long as you are able to see it. Can we just have some comments from YouTube, like from where you are joining, city, or your background in engineering, from computer science, IT, electronics? If you can have a quick comments on the chat box. Just to get comments. Okay, I can see your comment, but not all. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All good? Should we get started? Okay, so let's get going. Let me know if you can see my screen. I will go to share it now. Okay. Hey, hello Shivam. Maybe we can just give 2 to 3 more minutes to join the candidates. What do you say, Kunal? Is it okay?
Yes.
Wait for some candidates.
Okay.
I think stream is now live. Okay. Thank you, Shivam, for joining in. Hello, Prince. Okay. Great. So meanwhile, I will just check my presentation.
Okay.
So Kunal, can we have a short poll where I would like to understand what are the background of candidates? I mean, have they done any GitHub training or any kind of work on Git before? So can those who are joining, can you have just a little of background, how much you know Git? Have you worked on Git? Or if you are absolute beginner on Git, just drop us in comments. That would be good. So that way, I will have some kind of context at how we should proceed with the session. Yes.
Sir, introduction.
Yeah. Hello, Krishna. So those who are joining in, just put some comments how much you have worked on Git or GitHub. If you're experienced, you can just put your experience. If you are a fresher, maybe if you are just have high level overview of Git, that would be also work. Hello, Udit. Great. Meanwhile, let me give some time to set up my screen. Okay, so let's get started. Let me share my screen now. Present option, yeah. Share
Yes.
screen. Let me know if you can see the screen.
Yes.
Just give me yes in the comments box that you can see my screen. Shivam, Prince, Krishna, Udit, if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Great. So let's get started to Git and GitHub deep dive mastery.
Mm.
So just quick introduction of me. I am Mohit. I have over 18 years of experience in IT industry now.
Mm.
Predominantly work in basically .NET, C Sharp, ASP.NET MVC, JavaScript, and Azure.
Mm.
I'm working in Git since 2008-9, and it's been more than 15 years working in Git so far. I have managed Git or branching strategies at organization level
Mm.
and conducting these Git deep dive sessions since 2021.
Mm.
So just to have disclaimer that this is a part of my 25 plus hours training session.
Mm.
Today we are going to mostly talking about uh, what is Git all about and how we should have our thought process or our mindset wired
Mm.
before running to Git yet or before we start learning it. So why Git? Yes, before we answer this question, those who have already worked on Git, yes, do you have any high level why we should go for Git? Would like
Mm.
to have this session pretty much interactive. So comments welcome. Why do you think Git is important for all of you? Yes, anybody? Why Git? From the audience, why do you think Git is extremely important for you? Be if you are from a developer, irrespective of backend, front end doesn't matter, right? If you are from DevOps side, why do you think Git is an important topic to master? Yes, anybody? Shivam, Udit, Divyanshu, Krishna, Udit. Yes. Why do you think Git is extremely important for your career? Because generally, we mostly start working on any tool or technology. Uh, we basically learn a very high level syntax or commands for that tool, right? But this is a session where we are super focused on engineering behind the tool. Yes. So Krishna, right? We have basic knowledge of GitHub as of what it is it and how to use it. Okay, all good. Excellent. Udit will have Udit said that for collaborative working project, yes. So so the way or approach we would be having here for learning it is to first understand why at all we need a version control. So all of you are pretty much spot on, pretty much perfect in your answer. But uh, the reason you are right now answering is basically the features of Git and not why Git, right? So for collaborative work in project, yes, it's one of the feature of distributed version control. For uh, version control, we can work collaboratively on any projects by Shivam. So basically, all these answers are basically what are the features of Git, right? And the question is why Git. So let's first understand there are reasons, and there is one more reason which is more closer to my heart, is that this is very mostly underrated tool by developers and DevOps professional, because Git is everybody works on Git, be it a developer or DevOps professional, but they based on my experience, they have just scratched the surface of Git, mostly by running few commands like git add commit and then push pull, right? Beyond that, they don't understand Git very much, uh, at least from the architectural side. Git is insanely powerful. It is very speedy to have good speed while maintaining the version control, and it's very much secure. For me, it's almost cost my job. So when I was working in Australia for 5.5 years, there was one of the project where we were working along with 250 developers across geography, across continents, and every developer has her or him own branch to work on the tasks they have been assigned. So it's very likely very chaotic scenario when you work on 250 branches at a time with very much high volume, high traffic project. And if you make any mistake, then that mistake can cost a sufficient uh, commercial impact and also brand reputation as well. So just uh, I would say conflicting situation with merge, and I couldn't handle it properly, and have been escalated to very much higher level. And that was the day where I started learning or looking at Git very differently than the regular Git developers, I would say, or uh, DevOps professional. And ultimately, I'm not sure how many of you are across this, but Git is created by Linus Torvalds. Yes, so Linus Torvalds is the nothing but creator of Linux operating system. So if Linus Torvalds is taking interest in some kind of tool, then certainly as a developer or as a DevOps professional, it is our duty to have much more focus on why this tool is already in this place. Yes. So uh, who should be actually having this, looking at this session is, if you are pretty much curious about understanding of Git, rather than how to work on Git, I would say how Git works. Because when we say curious, right, so most of you, those who are freshers, who are going to apply to companies as a either backend engineer or front end engineer, AI engineer, ML engineer, data engineer, DevOps engineer, right? That's uh, irrespective of what position or what kind of technology you are going to be. Ultimately, what is common across all is being an engineer. Yes, and when you are saying, or when we have a title as an engineer, it is very much matter for us that engineering is nothing but being curious, asking why behind the workings of any platform, right? So asking why, being curious, asking how it works, that's what uh, we should be, that what our mindset should be attending any technology, not just Git. Okay. The other point I would like to clarify is that if you would like to become a subject matter expert in your circle or within your team or department for Git and GitHub, then this is the right session for you, right training for you. Ultimately, uh, someone who is not just only here for learning it, but the intention is more about understanding it, right? It's very different. The two things are pretty different. Being a learner and being striving for understanding, right? So learning is basically, certainly at very first, at the very start, you should have high level knowledge of what is the tool, what are different commands, okay, what is the background, high level, right? But once you uh, very much used to of that tool, if you are, for example, Git, if you know basic commands, then your next step should be how those commands work, what is happening internally, right? That should be on the second step. Are we clear so far? Is it going good? Is the pace looks okay? Yes. So, what is Git? Yes. So by definition, so if we see definition from Linus Torvalds sir, it would be uh, Git is nothing but the stupid content tracker. That's what the definition by Linus Torvalds sir. But then from our standpoint, uh, from the industry standpoint, it's nothing but, in a nutshell, Git is an application that does distributed version control, right? Now, this is very high level definition, and trust me, when I have started learning Git, uh, I used to carry that baggage, right? Because in a total experience of 18 years, around 5 to 6 years or 7 years, I was pretty much working on centralized version control. So if you at all know any centralized version control, Visual Source F VSS, now it is called as Team Foundation Server as a TFS, and then we have Subversion, Tortoise, SVN. So Perforce, these are some examples of centralized version control system. So I was like कि market में tools आते जाते रहते हैं. So what's more into it? It should be same as the earlier version controls, and that's where things go horribly wrong, horribly south. And when I have actually started digging more into the Git, that's where I think this definition, an application that does distributed version control, seems to me like uh, something like free your mind in Matrix. So if you are across Matrix movie, specifically Matrix 1, you need to dig a lot to understand what's going around your surrounding, right? So let's understand what this actual definition means and why is that. So this is a very beautiful quote that I looked from Albert Einstein's, is that any fool can know, but the point is to understand. So learning or knowing thing is okay, but the strive as an engineer, I should strive for learning. So once you understand things, you don't need to mug up, you don't need to buy hard the things, right? So if I really want to understand the definition of Git, then the Git is nothing but an application that does the distributed version control, right? And for that, we first need to break this definition into two parts. So one is Git is an application, and other is Git as a distributed version control. Once we break this definition into two parts, I think that's where we can understand what actually Gits want to offer. So why do we need to break? Because in terms of definition, it doesn't make us more sense, right? So for that, we first need to understand what is Git in terms of an application. Once we understand what an application means, how Git is very much similar to any program, right? Doesn't matter which language you are using for coding. It can be C, C++, Java, .NET, right? Python, doesn't matter. Any application or program. So we know the definition of application, right? Right now we are using this platform where we are utilizing YouTube as a medium of connecting each other. But this YouTube is going on browser, right? Everybody is watching this into the browser or an app. So what is that browser? Browser is nothing but an application, right? So how Git is very similar to an application. Once we look at into application perspective, then it's very easy to look into Git as a distributed version control perspective, right? So let's uh, go and check what actually mean by an application. So let's say you are building a source code, right? Source code can be in the form of C, C++. It can be, as I said, right, any platform. It can be Java, .NET as well. The reason I am explaining with C++ is because Git is created in C language. Yes. So since computer or microprocessor doesn't understand our high level language, we have to have compile our high level language, which is C or C++, into a language that your microprocessor can understand, right? So for that, we need compilation and assembling. Yes. Once we do that, your source code, your file is converted into the object format. This is also a binary format, right? So once you convert this object format into binary format, then you would also need to link so that it creates an executable. So depending on your platform, if you are on Windows, that would be .exe. If you are on Linux-based operating system, it will be .out. Though Linux-based operating system doesn't carry any meaning for your extension, but still, just for the sake of understanding, we can have the executable format or executable extension as .out in Linux and .exe in Windows. Right? This is how your program is compiled. And when you say you actually double click or you type that name on the command line, that's where your program gets started executed in the memory. So at high level, I have depicted how that program gets run into memory. So any application, right? It can be a PowerPoint, it can be Zoom, it can be browser. All those applications which are running, they are basically running inside the RAM. Yes, as you can see, some part of RAM is occupied by OS, specifically kernel, and then you have different process running in the rest of the memory of the RAM. Yes. So let's do one thing. Let's have a demo of the application. I will quickly start the Visual Studio and code, and then I will explain you the walk down of the code first, and then we will also run the code. Uh, Before I go ahead and show you a sample application, are we good so far, Kunal, or all those who have joined, Krishna, Shivam, Udit? Is this space looks okay? Any questions so far? If you have any questions, we'll take a 2 minute break and then we'll start going further into what is actually mean by application. So today we are going to basically break down the Git definition into two parts: application and then distributed version control. So to understand distributed version control of Git, we first need to understand what is actually mean by application. Yes. So feel free to give your comments. Is this looks good? Should we move forward? Any questions? Let's have 2 minute break. Yes. Is this space looks good? Yes, Kunal, are we going good so far? Any comments that I cannot see from here? Yes. So I think we are good so far. Let's go and start the application part of Git. Okay. So let me open VS Code and we'll cover uh, the demo. So let me share my screen again. What is difference between Git and GitHub? Good question. So Git is a command line tool, right? And it is actually helping you in version control, while GitHub is, I would say, platform, but GitHub is actually hosting your Git application on some hosting providers, right? So if you at all work on Git, Git doesn't ask you about any authentication or authorization. So Git is very much open, right? But GitHub, if you want to have some protected access or some I would say role based access control to your repository, Then you have a different platforms like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. So Git is, without Git there is no GitHub. That's the first thing, right? Git is just a command line, and you can have Git at your local machine, right? But if you would like to collaborate between the developers in a distributed manner, or if you're working on a team, then you need some kind of distributed platform, and those platform are nothing but GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. Yes, is this clear, Prince, Divyanshu? So Divyanshu is saying I'm very confused in Git and GitHub. I guess I've just called out the difference. Git is at your local system, local machine, but with only Git you cannot collaborate. You would need some kind of platform so that you will be working on in Teams environment, right? So to work within team environment, you would need some kind of repository provider. So that's what GitHub is, or for that, in fact, Bitbucket, Azure Repos, GitLab, they are all just nothing but a service provider. Maybe I would say Git service provider with some additional features. For example, GitHub also provide you GitHub Actions, which is a automation or DevOps tool, right? GitLab also have GitLab CI/CD. Azure have Azure DevOps. So these are nothing but the platforms which provide Git services on top of it. Yes, uh, but good question, by the way. So let me go ahead and just share you one program. Give me 2 minutes, guys. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, all good. So you can see my screen now. Let's walk through first the application. So if even if you haven't have any background of programming, doesn't matter. We are not going to understand programming over here. What we are looking for this program is only what is an application part of Git, right? Remember our definition that Git is nothing but, yes, Git is nothing but an application that does distributed version control. So if you still in the context and if you see this definition, so we are right now focusing on this guy. Git is an application. Okay. So let's go and see. So for this, I am just expecting that you should aware of at least bare minimum printf hello world program. Okay, I don't want that you should be very much familiar with all the programming concepts. What this program is going to do is nothing but just going to print hello world. Okay, so I will just still explain what's going on. So hash include at st.h will actually have a declaration of printf function, which is we are going to use to print hello world in the console. And then let's do one thing. Let me comment out this definition first. We'll show you. So this definition doesn't matter at all. Main function is nothing but the entry point of your program, and then we are just simply printing two lines, two blank lines, then hello world, and again blank lines. That's it. This program doesn't do anything fancy. Okay, so let's go and run this program. So I already have build script running. So if you can see, let me zoom in a bit. So this is hello world, right? Now, this there is not much any fancy about this program, right? But how we can relate this program with the Git is very much important. So when I run this my small application which is printing hello world, let's do one thing. Let's just run Git, and if you see, just typing Git give you some statements, some help, right? Or some documentation of Git. So my program actually printing hello world. The Git program is just printing some same printf statement, but with some kind of additional commands, additional document of Git, right? So this is one way we can verify that Git is nothing but an application. The other important part that I would like to call out from the program perspective here is that let's comment this version of main function and let's go back to this uh, version of main function, right? So irrespective of which language you use for programming, there are few goodies or few gifts all of us we get as a programmer from operating system. So all the programs that are running on operating system get these few gifts. What are those gifts? That let's say, uh, okay, let's see one example for that. Okay. Mm, did I close by mistake? No. Okay. So let's say you are starting the program called Notepad. Okay. So if I enter here Notepad, I get this Notepad window, right? But look at this Notepad, right? It is showing untitled. Yes. If I don't want it to be come as untitled, and I want that my Notepad should be start with some meaningful file, right? If I wish that, in that case, what I can do is I can do Notepad and then let's say my name, Mohit.txt, right? So it will ask first, do you want to create a new file, because he's not able to, it is not able to find this file Mohit.txt. I will say yes, and look at this now here, right? So I have just passed some argument to Notepad, and then it is actually taking it as a file name, and it is already created this file for us, right? So what it means? It means is that when you, so you don't return Notepad, right? Somebody else return Notepad for you. But how you can ensure that you can pass some parameters to it before, when you start program, you need to send some instruction to program so that it can make sure that it will take your name or your file name as an input, right? So similarly, if I need to achieve that, or any program who can achieve this, is by the gift from OS. So what is the gift? That you can pass some command line arguments in to any program. So if you're at all from anybody from cloud background or any DevOps background, so you might have work on AWS, right? So you can have AWS or Azure for that matter. All this platform has their command line. So AWS CLI, right? Azure CLI, what they are nothing but the application in itself, right? And then you fire a command like AWS configure, right? Where you can configure your public key, your secret and your username, something like that, your email or your secret or access token. AZ login. So if you're from Azure, you put AZ login in command line, and then you basically log into command line, right? So similarly, you have Git, in Git you have Git add, or you have command called commit, right? Or you have called push, right? So what is this? So Git is in a program. The important point I would like to make is Git is nothing but a program, and these are nothing but, this could be, or this is there, this is the commands that is going to be accepted as a command line argument. So how one should know that which are the command line arguments that program accepts? So for that, we need to rely on documentation or help. So I'm not sure if you look at this, when I run Git as a program, you get what are the commands. Look at this. What are the common commands that you should be passing to Git, right? So if I need to understand that I can do this with my program as well, how I can do that? I need to ensure I'm accepting this command line arguments. And there is one more gift from operating system. What is the gift? That operating system pass you or pass your program the environment variables on that system. So for example, if I'm running this application on my laptop, my desktop, so whatever environment variables that I have, my program have access to those environment variables, right? So just what we'll do, we will do the same thing. So here I'm printing number of command line arguments that is being passed, right? And I'm also printing top 20 environment variables in my system, right? So nothing fancy. Like Git, I'm also ready to accept the parameters. So if you don't pass any argument, okay, if you don't pass any argument, in that case, what what is your program name becomes the default argument. So for any program, there would be at least number of arguments is one. Why? Because program name itself is nothing but the default argument, and then what do you pass? So since I have modified the code, I need to build. So I have this build script already there. Let's build. Let me clear it, and sorry, CLS, and then I will build it this again. Okay. After building, see, this application gets executed. I didn't pass any command line arguments. So by default argument is one, which is this my program, right? This also saying the command line argument number one is nothing but Git application. And then we have top 20 environment variables. So if you are from Java background, or if you are from Monstack, React or Node, or you are from .NET, at least you should be aware of one command line argument from Linux is nothing but $path. So normally, Node guys or Java guys, .NET, they actually set this path environment variable, right? So like a path, there are a lot of other environment variables. Depending on what you install on your system, those every software, like I have NVIDIA GPU, CUDA toolkit, then I have this version. So all these are nothing but the environment variables. Again, not all, these are the top 20. Why? Because I have only interested in top 20 environment variables. Okay. So how I can pass this to my program? So let's do one thing. Git underscore application.exe. I would say my name. So look at this now. When I pass my name to my simple application, look at this number of command line arguments. How come 4? So this is 1, the program name itself 1. This is 2, 3, and 4, right? So total command line arguments are 4. What are those? So Mohit, Vilas, Dharmadhikari, these I have passed, right? So in my case, I'm just very much doing simply dumping onto the command line. But if it is Git, right? If it is Git, what Git would have done? Git have add, Git have commit, Git have push, right? So when Git see the command line argument, basically Git check what command line arguments you have passed, and then based on that command line argument, Git is actually taking some kind of action into that code. Here, in our case, I am just dumping those command line arguments into the console line. But in Git would do something else. It will take some kind of specific action based on the command you pass. Yes? Are we clear so far? Any questions? I don't have access to your chat at the moment, but I will just take a short pause and we'll see. So what is building? So basically, I was building just program so that I can run the program. So now we have seen the program part of Git. basically how we actually can pass command line arguments, how those command line arguments get processed, right? So in case if you are from Terraform, or if you know Docker, you type commands like docker run, docker init, right? Or you have a Terraform, and you have a Terraform init. So what those commands are? Those are nothing but, so this is applicable to all tools that you have used. So any command line tool is nothing but an application, and you need to understand what application means, so that you are able to understand how Git is actually processing your commands. So this was just simple demo using just printf, so that you understand what actually an application means and how Git is processing those commands. Yes, Udit, does that answer your question? Yes. Is this making sense? Are we going too fast? Yes. Give me your comments into the comment box, so that I would get to know that you are understanding at least the application part of the Git. So this is not just specific to Git. We need to think this is in perspective of, this is applicable to all tools that we actually deal in terms of DevOps world. So that tool can be Terraform, that tool can be AWS CLI, Azure CLI. Yes, even Ansible, you have some command line. So all these tools are nothing but an application. So we have seen, when we see seen application, it is across all tools. So you don't need to mug up, right? We are here to understand Git. To understand, we need to first understand what is a program means, how that program is actually parsing your instructions, and how that instructions basically specifically taking some actions, and those actions are performing some task for you. Yes. So let me share the presentation again, and if you have any doubt, you can ask. I hope you are okay with the demo so far. So we have seen this, okay. So we have already seen the application so far. So next part would be the Git as distributed version control, right? So first, what we need to understand from the Git perspective is that when we see Git at very much high level, generally this diagram is pretty much similar of your OS. So if you know OS diagram, uh, so at higher level at OS, this is nothing but your kernel, right? So you have OS there, like kernel, and then you have shell, nothing but the shell, right? And then you have OS utilities or command line utilities. I would say OS utilities, utility, right? I'm talking in terms of OS diagram, okay? So it can be, let's say, mkdir. You are running some command line applications, mkdir. What else you know? ls, yes, cat. So these are commands that you run. These are nothing but the utilities. And higher level, you have user-based applications. So it can be Word, PowerPoint, PPT, and so on, right? So this is can be a high-level diagram of OS as well. But then what we are looking here is that if I need to understand Git, right, properly, what I need to do is we have to go some deep dive or have some high-level architecture to make Git simpler. So how I can make Git simpler? So first I need to basically surrender what is the thought process of Linus Torvalds while building Git, right? So you have this high level, at very much high level, you see Git as nothing but distributed version control, right? But when I say distributed version control, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why? Because it's just three words: distributed version control. But what actually I mean by that? To understand that, first, so basically you need to look this entire diagram as a piece of onion. Yes, and onion have nothing but the layers. Yes, onion have layers. Yes, and we need to peel the layers of onion in order to actually understand the main part of onion. Yes, so to first understand what is distributed version control, we need to understand what is version control first. Yes, so to to take out this top layer of distributed version control, if I need to take out this layer, what I need to do? I need to assume that there is no other computer in the world. Why? Because distributed means at high level, distributed means nothing but the cluster or a set of or network of machines. Yes, distributed means cluster. Yes, we say a lot of the time distributed system design. Yes, so distributed means cluster. So if I say that in this world, if I assume for now a hypothetical assumption that there is only machine, there is only laptop, or there is only desktop in this world is my laptop. In that case, it is very easy to take out this layer. Then we reach to this layer, which is version control layer, right? Now, if I need to understand in a layman terms what is a version and what is the control. So version is basically, I would say, improvements or incremental, right? So for example, since my birth, right? Since my birth, I have grown up in height, I have grown up in weight, I have grown up in understanding, I have grown up in maturity. Yes. So I can easily say that I am a better version of myself, right? But if I have some regrets, for example, I haven't done engineering pretty well, right? I haven't done my schooling pretty well. So if I have some kind of regret in my life, I can't go back and fix the things, right? So what, as a human being, what we don't have is the control, right? We 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 are every day we are a better version of ourselves, right? We are learning something new, so it actually adds up something into our knowledge, right? But what we don't have is a control. Yes. So in real world, we, though we are very much well versed with versioning, we don't have a control, right? So what control means? So control means an ability to go back and fix the things, right? So for example, if I would have a time machine, I would have gone back to the engineering days of mine, and I would have make sure that I have learned from the books, I have studied well, right? But I don't have that control. But in software world, you can go back and fix the things, right? So how I can get the control? So how can I go back to pass this version control layer? So control means I should be able to go that go back into the time machine. To go back into time machine, that means there has to be someone who always keeps tracking of every change in my abilities, right? So in software world, we can do that, right? In software, you can go back, you can fix the bugs. Even after deployment, you fix the production bugs and you deploy the application again, right? So similarly, if Git has version control, means Git has ability to go back to any version of your code and fix that. So if I need to peel off this layer, I have to assume that Git must have some kind of tracking. Yes, Git should have some kind of tracking there. So that's the reason the third layer will be content tracker. Now, why content? Because Git doesn't restrict you that you only store code files. So you might be working on C, C++, Java, .NET, but Git doesn't uh, actually restrict you or constrain you that you only store your source code. You can actually store your source code. You can actually store your YAML files if you are working on DevOps. You can store your Python files. You can store images, text, PDF, and movies as well, right? Audio as well. And when you don't have such kind of constraint, such kind of restriction, then that kind of files are typically categorized as content tracking. Tracking is very easy, right? We have nowadays we have smartwatch, so 10,000 steps a day. So we basically track our walk, we track our steps, we track our heartbeats, we track our oxygen. So similarly, Git is tracking files for you. Then to reach the last layer, if someone is keeping track of all your changes, that means somewhere Git is storing your changes. So every change is gets stored into the Git main layer, right? So to understand Git, we first need to study how Git actually storing the things, then how Git actually tracking the things, and then we would able to uh, just a minute. Then we be able to understand. So first we need to understand what is persistence, how Git is storing, how Git is tracking, and then only then we will be able to understand how to version control in Git. And once you study all these three layers in detail, in depth, then you should look at the distributed version control. This is how should be your flow to understand the Git. So I will take a pause. We'll look for the questions. Yes, any questions so far? Yes, any questions so far? Are we good? Kunal, is this looks okay? I'm happy to have questions. We already passed 1 hour. Our normal is close to 1 hour. So in today's part, we have covered the high level architecture of Git, the layers of Git, how Git is basically divided into 4 layers. So top layer is version control, distributed version control, then version control, content tracking, and persistence. We have also seen, yes, we have also seen uh, Git as an application. So if uh, do you guys have any questions? I'm happy to take those questions for now, and then maybe in next part we will go ahead and we'll see how the persistence work in Git. So for today, we have basically started our journey with understanding of Git as a distributed version control. In the next part, what we'll see is that how actually we can use a persistence to store things in Git. Once we understand the persistence, that would be our journey of understanding Git to from persistence to from content tracking and then versioning, and then we will land into distributed version control. Yes. So I'm happy for today's questions. If you have any questions, we'll take those questions now, and then in part two, we will continue with our journey for persistence layer. So in part two, or while looking at part two, what I would expect is that those who are going to join this session should come up with Git. Yes, they should come up with Git with Git Bash. So your system should have Git installed, and then I think that way we can have some hands-on understanding of persistence layer, which will be super helpful for you in your distributed version control journey. Yes. So for now, we will take a we'll stop here for part one. Part two, I would request all of you to have Git Bash installed. If not, I can guide you that as well. And then we'll do some practical hands-on to understand how Git is actually storing your things. Yes, I'm happy to have questions. Kunal, if you have any questions, if you get any questions or comments from students, do let me know. Happy to have these questions now. Yes, please feel free to have the question. Yeah, I'm happy to have questions. I hope whatever we have covered so far makes sense to all of you. Yes, team. Is there any other tool like it? There are a lot of tool. When you say Prince, any other tool, are you saying in terms of version control? In version control, yes, we have
I didn't catch that. Could you
we
try?
have Mercurial. We have uh, TFS Team Foundation Server. Then we have BitKeeper. We have SVN, Tortoise. These are a lot of other tools. But in development world, Git is highly popular. Yes, the most popular tool is nothing but the Git in terms of version control. So that's why you have every repository in industry so far is using Git. Very much legacy applications, those are only dealing with a centralized version control like a Tortoise or Perforce or Team Foundation Server. Sure. Any other questions before we wrap up for today? Happy to have other questions. We still have 5 to 10 minutes where we can have more questions. So I don't want to go a big bang 2.5 hour or 2 hour session. Maybe we'll have a bit of interaction, have some of your questions, and we will complete this series in a part one or part two. Rather than in part one, we will complete in a part two. So I would certainly say that you can connect me over LinkedIn. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on the LinkedIn as well. So this is my QR code. You can send me a request in LinkedIn. You can follow me. I do share some important topics or posts about Git, GitHub, a bit of AWS and Azure as well. So if you at all would like to connect with me, I'm happy to have you in my connections list. If there are no questions, then we can wrap it up for today, and we'll meet in part two. So would be around for some more time to have questions. Basically, we need to look at the mindset about programming and so why Git. Okay, from the venue, why Git is so much popular than any other tool. So as I said, Git is nothing but a distributed version control. Earlier tools were quite more in terms of centralized version control. Git is very much simple and have good performance over other tools. And there are a lot of other features in Git which help us to build automated CI/CD pipelines on top of it. That's why I would say Git is very much popular. Has a good security features, have good performance, and it has very good optimization when it actually uh, manages your code base. By the way, good question, Divyanshu. Any other questions? Happy to have those questions, guys. It's really good that we having this interactive session. So with question and answer, basically this is an opportunity in the live classes where you can have interact and resolve your doubts. Most likely, GitHub is more popular in terms of industry. Around 150 million developers we have on GitHub. After GitHub, I would say GitLab, then Bitbucket, Azure repos also. AWS also have AWS commit, but now it is, I would say, deprecated. So AWS also have a good integration touch point with GitHub. Going forward, you can't host a repository in AWS commit. So AWS DevOps has also some pipeline offerings, which is code build and code deploy. But AWS code commit is now deprecated. Okay. Thank you, Prince. Thank you, Udit, Divyanshu, and Kunal. I think in part 2, we'll go more detail to understand how we can store in Git.
Okay.
Yes, over to Kunal. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, see you all then. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, bye.